It's time for local talk here on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, and the Nextdoor Radio app. And good morning. Welcome to our local talk program here on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, and the Nextdoor Radio app available by Google and Apple Store. Today is Behavioral 911 with Miss Kellie Syfan. How are you today?
I am so well. How are you?
I am fantastic. Of course, we have my wife in the studio as well. If you can, I don't know if you can see her on the camera or not, but there you go. She's over there somewhere. Again, my name is Trey Snyder. Our phone number 919-618-9258, 919-618-9258. If you want to be a part of the program, hey, we would love to have you. Of course, Miss Kellie is with Applied Behavioral Happiness. Real quick, a little 30-second infomercial about what you do and who you are.
Absolutely. I'm Kellie Syfan. I own Applied Behavioral Happiness, where we change behavior but protect the spirit. And my big focus is on helping families through trauma, irrational fears and phobias, and tantrums and meltdowns.
We have seen that pretty dramatically. And so a lot of the times we like to use our own perspective and our own child, but we're going to get us to stay away. I can't do that 4 times a month. So talk a little bit about it, the perspective on sympathy and things like that. Talk about that's been one of the problems that you've kind of encountered, should you say? The last couple
Absolutely.
weeks.
Yeah, I get a lot of calls about my child is unable to take anyone else's perspective. Like it's their tunnel vision, my way or the highway, just sort of stuck in black and white thinking. Or calls of why can't my child empathize with anything? Where is their empathy? Why do they lack empathy so much? Are they going to grow up to be a psychopath or a narcissist? These big
It's a
concerns
big
that
word.
come out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But when you're having those fears, holy smokes, that's going to weigh on your heart.
Man, so what are some of the conversations to have when you notice a child, or I mean, even a young adult? Doesn't have to be a child. Uh, what is some of the conversations you can have when you can see something like that transition?
Sure. So if you're starting to notice that a child or a young adult is having a lot of trouble with perspective taking, the first thing to check is can they genuinely take perspective in a metaphorical sense? So let's say we've got a wall, and on one side of the wall, we've got a picture of a cat, and on the other side of the wall, we've got a picture of a dog. And you've got one person on one side and one person on the other. Can you identify what you see? And can you identify what the other person sees? And although that's just a funny little metaphor, and there's deeper questions that we go through for doing a full assessment on perspective, if they're going, well, of course you'd see a cat, even though they're on their side with the
Yes.
cat, and you've said that on your side is a dog. Well, you see a cat. Why don't you see a cat? If they get stuck on that piece, then we know we've got a greater skill set that we need to work into on just what is perspective and what could we be missing from situations in order to be able to get to that next step of I can step into your shoes and understand what's going on.
Scott Siphon joins us here by way of our local talk. This is Behavioral 911 every single Friday beginning at 10 a.m. here on Next Door Radio. So I want to dive a little bit deeper into that if you can.
Mhm.
When you see that, when you have that conversation, a lot of times it's as a parent, it's so hard to say, hey, one, you're wrong. Let's be honest, you are wrong. This is what it is. That's a hard conversation as well. What do you do? Dive a little deeper.
Yeah, if you go into, well, you're wrong, which is the truth in this moment. Hey, I don't see the cat. I see the dog. If we get in that power struggle, that's where we're going to stay most likely. Often in those moments, we'll just do, okay, let's switch places. And what do you see now? And what do you think I see now?
Uh,
And just go back and forth a couple of times as long as they're open to it, leading them to that answer rather than telling them they're wrong so that you don't get stuck in the power struggle. If they say, well, this is stupid, I'm done. Okay, great. We can
yeah.
just stop for now and go. Let's call up Kelly, have a quick 30-minute free discovery call and talk about
Yep.
what we can do next. Because then we're going to go into the nuances of what really matters to your child, what really matters to you as far as values, and talk about some really good next steps because it's going to be a little nuanced depending on the different families that you're working with.
So talk a little bit more about those steps if you can. We'll use
Yeah.
the top 3 that you really like to focus on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So some of the top 3 are gonna be, hey, for our family, the value is that we are going to be able to, at least say what the other person might be feeling. So what I might do is start going into pictures where, say, like a whole illustration of a scene. We say, okay, there's someone over there. They've got a really sad face. Let's say it's a sports scene. They've got a really sad face. Do we think that they won or lost? I think they may have lost. Okay, great. So we're starting to just go, I didn't lose a game, but I can look at a picture and I can identify there's an emotion, and that's how I think it relates to this picture. So often that's going to be the direction I go for going, hey, I really want my kid to be able to look at a situation and relate to someone else quickly and effectively. Some other ones that I might look into are, can we do a little bit of object permanence work almost? Like, hey, the red ball is here. Now the red ball is in the bag. You can't see it, but is it still red? Yeah, it's still red. So when we're younger, of course, we can talk about that even more than when we're older. And a good third direction to go would be just naming things as you see them in the world. So if I've got a kiddo that's really, really resistant to wanting to, quote unquote, play these games or work through these sorts of lessons, I might just go forward and go, huh, that person walking down the street looks like they may have a sad face. I wonder what happened to them. Maybe their ice cream fell, and just keep it walking. Just have those little observations of emotion and
Yeah.
possible connections so that we start to create this schema of this emotion can be connected to these sorts of events, that emotion can be connected to those sorts of events. And even though it didn't happen to me, I can understand possibilities for what could be going on with them.
And that's fantastic. What I love about what you do, of course, now, of course, I'll bring my son into it. He does go to the farm to help with you and with the horse poop and all that good stuff. He loves it for some reason. Um, but what it is, you know how to talk to them in really what they understand.
Mm,
Parents a lot of times said, "Hey, you're going to do this, this, this. If not, you're going to get in trouble." But
sure.
when you're out there and talking to not only my son or any other kid or young adult, you know how to talk to them, and that's really a lot of times that's the biggest difficult.
Yeah, it's coming in and figuring out what's going to be the correct tone in the moment, what's going to be the correct sort of wording that's going to reach different kids. And of course, it's different because it's a therapeutic setting.
Mhm.
I don't have the background with them of being a parent. I'm not their safe person. I'm not the person who's been there very literally from day one, oftentimes. And so, what we're looking at here is a very different dynamic because I don't have that past record, let's say. I can come in with a fresh slate and build some of these new things, test out different things, find what's best, and then pass it back to parents
Mm.
and go, hey, because I had this fresh slate, I was able to see things that you couldn't have seen through the forest and the woods. Here's the new tools that we can
Mm.
use.
That's happening with the applied behavior happiness part of our behavioral 911 every single Friday, beginning at 10 a.m. here on Next Door Radio. All right, it's time to kind of highlight what you're doing at the farm, or any programs that you have coming up.
Absolutely. So at the farm, we are going to have baby goats soon, and I'm so excited. I know I
Oh,
keep
look at my
talking about
wife.
it.
Look at
Yeah.
her. She's so
We've
excited.
got little bunnies right
Yeah.
now. We've got a resident rabbit that is going to be working in our photo shoots. His name is Lapan, nickname Snowball. The kids have
Oh,
agreed, nickname
okay.
is Snowball. Um, from there, at the end of the month, I'm going to be doing the full launch of the tantrums and meltdowns, transform tantrums and meltdowns. It's got two parts to it. It's got the full resource library where you get access to every resource that I've collected now and all into the future, and access to weekly group calls where you can ask questions, get support, and be in a group of people that totally gets it because they're going through it too.
Yeah.
And that again is forever access. So I'm very, very excited about that. If you do want one on one work, I will have a 12-week intensive that you are welcome to look at as well. But making sure that we have as many resources as we can at a level that is good for everyone.
That's awesome. How can they get a hold of you? Best, of course, you have their website. They can email you, call you. What's the best way?
You can go on the website, appliedbehavioralhappiness.com, and we are redesigning right now, so you'll see some changes soon, or going to 984-235-1058.
Miss Kelly, thank you. Always a pleasure. Love having you in the studio every week. We'll see you next Friday. Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. Until next time, my name is Trace Knight on behalf of our local talk program. Next time, God bless. We will see you later. You're tuned in to Next Door Radio on nextdoorradio.com. Thank you so much.